Hello Superset maniacs and welcome back to my channel. I'm sure that even the biggest Andrew Jacked fan wouldn't argue Andrew Jacked placing higher than 5th place at this year's Olympia. As usual, he wasn't at his best on the big stage, and in no shape or form can he touch the winner of the Olympia, Samson Dauda, with that version. But what about his stellar Texas Pro version that made him one of the favorites for this year's Olympia, and for many people, myself included, even a favorite over Samson going into the show? Andrew's Texas Pro 2024 is his absolute best shape to date, and even though he could use a little more polish still, it's safe to say that this was Andrew near his 100%. So the question comes, would a near 100% Andrew Jacked, similar to what he brought in Texas, have been a threat to the Olympia title in 2024 to Samson Dauda's Olympia title? So Andrew Jacked Texas Pro 2024 versus Samson Dauda Mr. Olympia 2024. Front double biceps. Well, Samson Dauda has the advantage in the lower body, even though Andrew's legs are bigger because he's bigger and taller than Samson overall. Samson has the better quality legs. His legs look drier and more separated, but Andrew still has pretty good legs too. Andrew compensates with a better upper body though. He's got way more impressive arms than Samson with those incredible peaky biceps. His lats are also more developed, at least as seen in this pose. I even prefer Andrew's semi-flexed abs to Samson's vacuum. Visually, it's just more appealing to me. They both look great but different. Samson has a beautiful flow, but Andrew's more robotic look seems more impressive to me. Having the better arms and being a more towering figure adds to his presence, so overall I would give this first pose to Andrew Jacked. The front lat spread is another great pose for both of them. I believe Samson improved on this pose. He's filled out more in his wide structure, improved the execution of the pose, and most importantly, he got that conditioning he was usually lacking. As for Andrew Jacked, I think we should all know that this is arguably his best pose, next to the abs and thighs. And an in-shape Andrew, like he was in Texas, is pretty hard to beat in the front lat spread. He simply has a cleaner look, superior lats, and way better looking abs here. Despite the midsections not being fully flexed, it's still noticeable and important. So coming out of the first two poses, Andrew Jacked emerges with two pretty clear wins against your Mr. Olympia. Side chest is next, a pose Andrew Jacked gets a lot of criticism for, and for good reason. It's like he doesn't know how to hold this pose properly. It may not be as obvious in a still picture, but let's take a look one more time at the video to make it clear. I can't put my finger exactly on the problem, but it seems like he has an issue with staying down on his hamstrings as well as turning his upper body to the front more properly, and it's a shame because if we look at his upper body and especially his chest, I actually think he doesn't get enough credit. He's got a crazy popping chest reminiscent of the golden era guys. Even though the chests are pretty even, where Andrew loses to Samson is with the arms, shoulders, lower body overall polish and execution of the pose, which makes it very clear that the 2024 Mr. Olympia runs away with this pose. Let's check out the other side pose first, because I have a feeling the back poses will decide the fate of this comparison, so I will leave them for the end. So the side triceps now, another side pose, another pain in the ass for Andrew Jacked and for his fans also. For the matchup between these two, Andrew was the one that needed to improve the execution of the side triceps, but Samson was the one to do it. Before I ever saw this Dorian-esque execution of Samson, I thought that with better execution Andrew Jacked could get him, but now, seeing what Samson pulled off here, I'm aware that Andrew may never be able to come close to that. I saw that at the Olympia finals, Andrew too tried this trailing cuff Dorian-esque execution, but it was a complete failure because of his inability to lean down properly. Andrew Jacked won the first two front poses, but he got destroyed in the side poses by Samson, so coming out from the first four poses, Samson is in the pole position overall, being more convincing. Abs and thighs and Andrew jacked, just as his fans watching now take a deep breath of fresh air after the beating in the side poses. Now Samson Dauda looked very good in the abs and thighs at this Olympia, better than ever, but from that to be able to square up with Andrew jacked is a long way. Besides having the obvious superior ab development, Andrew also has the better built upper body for such a pose. He simply looks comfortable in this pose, quite the opposite from the side poses. Samson has the better thighs overall, but his midsection and the way his pose flows overall here cannot challenge Andrew jacked, who takes a dominant and important win in this pose, making the score on poses 3-2 for him. The most muscular, the only front pose where basically an in-shape Andrew jacked is not the best in the world today. Even though his legs look pretty good here, he still gets beaten by Samson, who has arguably the best legs in the game today from the front. But Andrew's problem lies in the upper body here, where probably aside from the midsection he loses everything else against Samson: the chest, the shoulders, the arms, plus the overall polish and definition. A very clear win for your new Mr. Olympia in this variation. We also have these other two variations of the most muscular, where Andrew looks slightly better. Whenever his flexed midsection gets more exposure, it's better for him. However, Samson pulls out an incredible crab most muscular and further solidifies his superiority in this pose, so the score becomes 3-3 before the back pose is probably nothing unusual by now. Over 74% of you watching my content in the past 28 days aren't subscribed. Imagine where we'd be if just half of you hit that button. It cost you nothing. Let's hit 30k subs, thank you and God bless. Back double biceps. Before this Mr. Olympia and after I saw Andrew in Texas, I repeatedly stated that Andrew jacked had finally surpassed Samson in back development, and I still think it was so if we were comparing with Samson's last stage versions from the Arnolds. Not even his later France Pro version from 2 weeks before the Olympia was different. In my mind, Andrew's back in Texas was superior to anything I saw from Samson by that time. However, at the Mr. Olympia, Samson Dauda proved me so wrong, man. He brought a new back, a refined back, a back that defeated Andrew jacked, Hadi Chupan and many others on that Olympia stage. Samson's back, at least in the back double, has virtually become a strong point for him now. And in this matchup with this version of Andrew, he dominates the back, but he dominates even more downstairs with superior overall dryness and better glutes and hamstrings. Clear victory for the Mr. Olympia. The back lat spread is a little more interesting. Of course, nothing changes downstairs, but let's see if Andrew can reverse this pose with his upper body, and at first glance, he's not out yet. We know from the front poses that Andrew had better lats than Samson, and I still think it's true, but the reason his lats may not seem as wide here is because of his execution. He doesn't fully spread his wings, trying to focus on the depth in his middle back through the traps here, which I believe is a good choice because he beat Samson in that area. The way his traps go all the way from his neck to his lower back is really impressive, man. However, I still can't get away from the fact that Samson has better width and is in better conditioning here, lower body of course, but even his back looks harder. So even though this is not a dominant win as in the back double, it is still a win for Mr. Samson Dauda. So yes guys, as anticipated, probably Andrew jacked wins his 3 front poses, but that's about it against your new Mr. Olympia. Samson Dauda destroyed Andrew from the side, he destroyed Andrew in the 4th front pose, the most muscular, and he clearly defeated Andrew in the back poses. While being pretty strong in the poses, he lost to Andrew too. So there should be no doubt about this matchup. Supersetman is admitting the best version of Andrew jacked to date from this year's Texas Pro is not a threat to the Mr. Olympia winning version of Samson Dauda. Andrew jacked needs something new to deal with that. Let me know your thoughts on this comparison in the comments below. Who do you have winning and why? Do you have the same result as me or not? Also, don't forget to subscribe to stay updated with my work. I still have plenty of content coming up for you. See you next time.